Okay, guys, today on the podcast, you're actually going to hear from one of my coaches, which I always tell my listeners, like, I always invest in coaching because, like, I'm taking y'all with me, like all of my students. And so, Carolina Martinez is here. She is on Instagram, Cash Flow with Carolina, and she is a financial coach. And I invited her in just to y'all give us just some basics, some mindset work that comes around money. And I'm excited to share just the things that she's taught me. Welcome, Carolina.
Hi, Krista. Thank you so much for having me.
I love having you here, and I have to remind myself like this isn't one of our coaching calls. Don't just
I
jump in
know.
and cry or share what's going on. But Carolina, we connected. I connected with you through a friend, Lauren Goldman, who's our ads
Mhm.
coach in Inner Circle. She connected me with you this year, and you've just been such a blessing to me and helped me so much just to really understand money that I was like, the people need more of her.
You're so sweet. I just want to support you and like the growth that you're having in your business. And sometimes we just need like a third party to kind of give you a different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And money is something that as a business owner, it is so personal. And you know more about my finances than my best friend because it's just something that it's so personal, especially y'all as a business owner. So I'm excited for us to have this conversation because, for our listener, Carolina, for you out there, the photographer that's established, you're making some money and just kind of lacking clarity, like this is for you. So, Carolina, I'd love if you just shared a bit just about some easy tips for photographers to really keep things organized with their finances.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say like you are such a gift too to even open up like that and tell people that because I think people think that when you're in business for so long, like you have it all figured out. And you don't. You're just figuring it out little by little as we go. So I just want to commend you for that. But without overwhelming your audience, there's so many things to do, but like let's just bring it back to the basics because I think we would be surprised when maybe a lot of photographers like pick up a camera for the first time and they're excited and they just go right and they just book sessions, but the biggest mistake I see is just not separating your business and personal finances. It just creates a headache, it creates tax issues. I always say like your business is there to serve your personal life, but your finances should also be separate. Like treat your business like a business and not a hobby,
Yeah,
right? So the first thing is if you haven't already, like please open up a business checking account and then a business savings account because you have to start saving for taxes off
yeah,
of that. I know it's no fun, but that's the part of entrepreneurship that if we have a handle from that from the beginning, money wouldn't scare us so much,
yeah,
you know? So, and,
absolutely.
and as a believer too, like I think that if you can learn how to manage your money with a little bit, you'll learn how to manage it when you have a lot of it too. So, that's the first thing. I think you'd be surprised how many people just avoid that at all costs.
It is surprising. To the best of my knowledge, Carolina, you can just anyone can open a DBA, a doing business as account, even if you just need to get it open and don't have all of the tax CIN stuff set up yet, right?
Yeah, I have to double check that. I know from my experience, I've always done LLCs. I highly, highly recommend an LLC just because protection with limited liability, it's so easy to do. And again, that could take 10 minutes for you just to start. And then once you get that EIN number, then you can open up your business checking account.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just like, I know it's tedious, but it'll save you a headache later on. I actually have a friend and a client that she has been in business. She's not a photographer, but she's been in business for like a year and a half. She's made over six figures and she just established her LLC. And she has told me what a pain it has been for her and that she
yeah.
wishes she just did it from the beginning when she had $0 in her
Right.
business. And yeah, so take it for what it's worth. It does become a bigger headache later on.
It does. And even like you said at the beginning, even if it feels like a headache now, it's so worth it. Even just Carolina help with cash flow, where you can
Yeah.
keep everything coming in, coming out. And Caroline, okay, Caroline, you're gonna laugh at this. I remember in college when I was starting to do sessions, I probably shouldn't say this publicly, I would get paid in just cash a lot. And I
Yeah.
would literally just keep a wad of cash on my car visor. Like the
Oh my,
organization was terrible. Guys, I would pay like second shooters just like a handful of cash. Like the organization was terrible. And you're right, down the road, that really hurt me, where it's like, oh, this money that the client paid in this CRM was linked to the personal account. And then we have to
Mhm.
move it over. And it's so, guys, it makes it so easy when you have that separate account, link all of your cards, all your client payments, and then all of the gear you're buying, everything photo related comes from that one account. There's no crossover.
Yeah.
And then Carolina, talk about like just paying yourself like a normal paycheck. Is that what you usually recommend?
Yeah, so it depends. I tell everyone, I'm like, I'm not an accountant and I'm not a bookkeeper, but I've had a lot of experience in business running my family's business as CFO for 8 years.
Yeah.
And so I've done this a few times. So, but if you're an LLC, so you can file as LLC as like a single member or LLC as an S corp, which people you might hear. And from a lot of the accountants that I have spoken with, they recommend you do an S corp once you start profiting about $50,000 to $60,000 a year. That's just because you have better tax benefits when it comes to payroll. So just kind of like an overview there. But when it comes to paying yourself, if you're a single member LLC and you're just getting started, then you can just pay yourself as a draw. You just transfer money from your business checking to your personal checking, maybe once a week, twice a month, whatever. But if you're an S corp, you actually have to have an actual payroll system, which Krista, you're familiar with. But I think people get surprised that you really don't need to make like that much, 50, in comparison to like the six figures that people are always referencing. You can make $50,000 in profit and you should be establishing an S Corp with payroll to get more of the tax benefits that everyone is always looking to
Yeah.
get. So what people also, one other little tidbit is people will be like, yeah, but my accountant told me I should only pay myself like $25,000 with my S Corp or whatever ridiculous low amount it is. That's just because of the strategy with the taxes. You can actually take more from your business as a draw, like a regular transfer, in addition to the actual payroll. It's a whole little ninja thing, but just know that there are different avenues to take more money for your business to, serve your personal life
Yeah.
and your personal goals.
And I've loved being on just a set payroll system. Like I think that there's a lot of benefits to it. So Carolina's been just even helping me just with like basic budgeting and things. It's so much easier to do when you have a set amount coming in versus like, oh, I'm a little low on money. Let's transfer a couple grand over. And I tell Carolina, my wedding photographers and portrait photographers, you know, I coach some, for instance, I coach some in the senior space. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
girl who maybe had a 2 grand month and a 20 grand month in the same year. And it
Yeah.
really is helpful if you have more consistency in paying yourself where you're not like, oh, do I not need to pay myself? Oh, should I pay myself a lot? Like, can you give any tips on just budgeting with having such fluctuating income in the photo space?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so yeah, it's like the feast or famine of being an
Yes.
entrepreneur too. And again, I think like an important part of like the stewardship aspect is like knowing how to live off of a little bit. And then when you have those bigger months, it's like, it's just, oh, cool, we have more money. It's not like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay for my like mortgage this month, right? And I think going back to like something that you said too, is just like, the purpose of all this is to like enjoy your business and enjoy your life, right? Because you probably went into entrepreneurship to break free from someone telling you when and how to work and what hours to work. So the point of this is not to be legalistic, but to give yourself permission and to ease off the stress. So there is purpose behind this, right?
Yeah.
So if you have like a ridiculous swing, like from 2,000 to 20,000, is really using that 20,000 to have like a reserve for the future because you are going to have low months. So like when that does happen, to expect it to happen and you'll be like, it's cool. I've got it covered. I planned for it. And I think again, that just goes back to having a system, which I will give you some tactical like formulas that I use. It's just having a system so that your business is a blessing and not a burden. So the kind of formula that I've have found that it's really helpful to serve me. And again, this is like high levels, not to do with payroll, but like with your profits is always setting a chunk for taxes, setting a chunk to give is because that's important to me. And then the other chunk I do is retained earnings. And sometimes that just ranges on percentage. And this could be retained earnings to reinvest back into your business, or retained earnings that you should build in a somewhat of an emergency fund for your business. I truly think you should do the emergency fund first before you think about investing again in your business. But keeping a reserve in your in a separate savings account where you have maybe like 2 months of expenses, just to have as like an oh crap money is kind of what I call it, and then you
Yeah,
can build it to like reinvest. But yeah, I think this just gives you so much permission. And something that I am really trying to shift my clients to look at too is to actually start paying yourself based on the previous month's profits, because that gives us a lot more wiggle room to be like, oh, wow, okay, if I have a bad month, I have cushion to try to make more sales, to try to get more clients, and that'll cover me for the next month. Like you already have this month already covered.
yeah,
And I think it just alleviates a whole different kind of pressure, right?
it does.
I'll tell you one more thing too. I have a photographer client that I'm actually working with currently, and we were figuring out her cash flow and like looking at her personal budget. And she's like, man, I'm kind of tight now that she's like, I'm finally saving for taxes, right? She's not just taking everything home. And I'm like, okay, this is what you need to do. You need to go and book 4 more sessions. She's like, for the month? She's like, I'm like, yeah. She goes, oh, that's easy. She came back and she booked like 6 or 7
Yeah,
sessions. But like, once you have like that actual information without burning yourself out, of course, you're like, that's all I got to do. Got it done.
yeah.
And she can breathe so much easier.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I try to be like transparent with our listeners. So like when Carolina came into my life this year, soon after I had a baby, and like I coach a lot
Mhm.
of young women, and even if it's not like, oh no, things are burning down, just to give them the permission of being able to take a breath, like for just big life events, you know?
Yeah. And I think that, again, that's the whole point of it too, is because maybe a lot of your photographers that you work with are parents themselves,
Yeah,
they're moms themselves, and they want the freedom of being present when they're actually
right.
home. And it's just, yeah, that's the whole point. It's like money's supposed to be our tool. It's not, if you're going to be excited about a 6 figure, business, but then you don't know how you can't pick up your kid from school, like what's that worth to you,
Right,
so
right. And you've helped me see that so much. And so, just for our listeners, if they've listened, they probably know I'm pretty financially motivated. Like I see a
Mhm.
goal, I love to sprint towards it. I love that we're in photography and coaching, like the sky is the limit with income when you have the right structure. And I love teaching that to photographers. And, you know, Carolina, like, we hit the season of COVID and there were a lot of unknowns. I had friends who legally weren't allowed to go out and pick up their camera. And after that, I fell really into like a scarcity mode with money.
Mhm.
And you were so helpful with helping me like organize that and see what was okay and not. And our listeners don't know this, but there was a time last fall we just turned all of our funnels off where I was like, I need to just breathe and serve my current clients really well. And you were so instrumental in sharing, okay, this is why you have your business. Like you are going to burn out. Your little guy is a little baby, a few months old. Like you have the margin to pause. And like I wouldn't have done that had I not like had you speaking into that. Is that normal? Am I crazy?
No, I think I get it, because I like say all these things, but I'm also high achiever, highly motivated,
Yeah.
love going for big goals. Like I feel like that's how I was created, and you and I are very similar in that. But so all that to say is that it is normal for our personalities for sure, but rest can also be productive. And if you guys know Krista, maybe you've seen like a new spark in her in this last month because
A new visionary step in
she,
2026.
yeah, because she's just been restored. And I think,
Yeah.
as business owners, we just don't always have to go, go, go.
Right.
Sure, if you're just getting started, which I don't think a lot of your listeners, maybe they're already established, but like if you already have margin, you have a couple $1,000s sitting in your accounts, it's just like pausing and reevaluating, like, how are you managing that? Like, and it's again the scarcity of like, I'll talk to some clients and they'll be like, oh, I really don't have that much money in my account. And then I'll open it up and it's like $15,000. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
That's $15,000, that they're not doing anything with, that they, again, don't think it's enough. So it's just kind of peeling back the layers of like, where do you want to be now in 5 years? And then like making a plan with your money behind that and giving it purpose. And
Right.
knowing too that you can always go and make more money too. So that's also the beauty of what you guys do
Yeah.
as well.
Which I absolutely love. And I wanted to share this because you were so helpful. And even on our call yesterday, I said, Carolina, let's make an income goal for the year. I'm ready. Let's
Yeah.
hit it hard. And you were like, okay. And I shot you a number and you were like in profit. And I'm like, no. I'm just talking about growth. And you're
Yeah.
very much like, what do you actually want to make from that? But also, y'all, Caroline has been so instrumental in helping me see like, but like why? Krista, why is this important to you? Like,
Yeah.
why do you want to hit that number? Maybe a photographer sitting here and the buzzword in the photo space is six figures. And guys, with the right setup, hitting six figures, you have to have the right setup. Doing $300 sessions is it's gonna be really hard. But like, Caroline, some of the students I'm coaching have a girl just had a 4 grand sale last week. Like with the right setup, you can
Yeah.
get there. But maybe instead of like holding that to your pinnacle and burning out, hitting it, just trying to do more and more and more, like I love what you said. It's so important that you see like, but why are you doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, I think the tale is old as time. And again, like as a believer, like if we keep doing that, we're just going to keep worshiping money as an idol instead of like using it to serve the Lord, serve our families well. Like, what is the number behind that? What does your life look like
Yeah,
because you hit that number? Because again, people can brag about the businesses that they have, but if their life doesn't reflect the values that they have, then I'm not interested. Like,
right.
I think it's a oxymoron. Um and I'll tell you this, I mean, and you never know what happens with life or with business, and COVID hits, and then it's just like securing yourself so like as much as you can foundationally so that you are prepared for life to hit you in
Yeah,
waves. And and to be there for your family if an emergency were to come up or whatever,
right,
like at the end of our lives, people are not going to be like, she had a 7-figure business.
right, right. It's
They're
all
going to be
like,
like, how did you show up? I
yeah.
I have a client who they had made close to $1 million in annual revenue over a period of time in the last few years, and it completely got wiped away, and now they're in hundreds of $1,000s of debt with nothing, no house, no car, like absolutely nothing. And they are just like, I cannot believe I was so foolish with
Hmm.
that money that I made. Like, I didn't have a plan. And they're like rebuilding, and they're like, I'm going to do things differently now. And no one ever thinks that's going to be me.
Hmm.
Right. Like, or no one ever thinks that's a possibility. But the truth, like, it is, life happens. And so learn how to get a system where it's a feast or famine, you're coasting and you're
Yeah.
enjoying it, and it serves you well. So
And Caroline, I would honestly say, like, based on everything you said, if our listeners take nothing else from this, you said this at the beginning, it will be easier now, even if you're not making a lot of money, than waiting until you're making like a good amount of money to try to like fall into those habits and those frameworks of like living within your means. And I feel like it's probably so fascinating for you, but like I turned 30 and I think the biggest thing I've seen is that people that I thought had money based on what they drove or the bag they carried or all this stuff,
hmm
you
hmm
realize, oh no, they
yeah,
they might they might spend a lot of money, but they don't actually have a lot of money. And Carolina, I've seen the opposite where I've gotten to know some business owners that I'm like, holy moly, I had no idea the revenue they were bringing in because you would never know. Like the car they
yeah,
drive, their clothes, their thrifting. I bet that is just wild for you to see.
yeah. And it's funny, I've always like, since my husband and I went on this whole journey of like paying off our debt and followed Dave
Yeah.
Ramsey and read all these books, and it's similar to the Millionaire Next Door book
Mhm.
that this Thomas Stanley wrote in the 90s. But it's so true. Like, people, the flashy people usually don't have a lot of money, and
Yeah.
they are burying themselves in so much stress that you just don't see behind the scenes. but it's hard because that's what you see on the outside. Like no one sees behind the scenes. And um, one principle too is like it's one thing to make money, it's another thing to keep money.
Mm,
And I, as moms too, is like I have more and more as I talk about this, I'm like, we have such a responsibility to obliterate that because we are raising kids and they're watching us. And if we want differently for their lives, then we have to do differently ourselves, you know?
wow.
And what if our business can, yeah, maybe one day it could be our kids' business or teach them how to be wise entrepreneurs. And that's how legacies are changed. That's how generations are changed with one person, which I really believe moms have so much power because we pour into our kids so much. We're usually like the default parent, right? So
Yeah.
like, how can we take that as like an honor
Yeah.
to teach our kids?
Right. And
Yeah.
you're not sharing some wild credit card hacking strategy or like
No.
take out this HELOC to do this with it. It's just like the simple. I was talking to a girlfriend about this, Carolina, because I've talked about money a lot since hiring you, and you've just helped me
Mhm.
frame it better. Like it's
Mhm.
just the simple, mundane things, getting in good habits on repeat that like build actual wealth. And I feel like
Yeah,
that's sometimes what people like don't want to hear. Kind of the same with growing a business, like any type of discipline. And I
yeah,
think it's really hard for photographers specifically because we are in such like a visual space,
for
right? Where
sure.
it's like you want to show you're successful. And even in the business coaching space, like you want the reel in front of your Ferrari that you bought or
Yeah,
whatever. And it's people see that and like flock to that person and it's like no, that might I mean, they
yeah.
might not have any money.
That's so true. And honestly, and going back to like, thank you for bringing that up because I tell people, I'm like, I'm actually like kind of like I call myself a recovering serial spender. I am still a spender at big heart. I don't, it's not like I hoard all this money that I make and then I have no fun with it. Like that's not the purpose. Like again, it's like the life that you're building and what's important to you. So like the tactical piece of advice is just like I tell you too, Chris, that's like, okay, just do a brain dump. Like what do you
Yeah,
want your life to be like?
right.
What do you value? And I'm just a big believer too in the healthy balance of yes, we save money, we invest money, and then we use our money to live and like go on vacations with our family.
Yeah,
And what's important to you, if you want to buy that designer bag, go for it. But just as long as it's not costing you your peace or your future
right.
too.
Yeah.
And I
And you're
think also,
good.
like you said, people want the fancy hack,
Yeah.
but I think simplicity always wins because it's sustainable. And
Yeah.
like you don't have to think it could just be an automated thing that runs behind the scenes instead of like constantly trying to think how you can outsmart the system.
Right. And I've seen that go really poorly for people too. And I appreciate you saying that. And like I have stood there in the boutique watching the girl split up on the credit cards, the designer dress, and it's just not you don't want to you don't want to live that way. And I feel like the older I get, the more I see that. And then like having like you and I have genuinely become friends and
Mm-hmm.
like having relationships with like-minded people is so helpful too. So like if you're in, I have noticed this too, like if you're in a room where everyone's kind of trying to keep up with the Joneses, it's
Mm-hmm.
so much harder, at least for me, to like break the habit of like, oh, but I need to show up in this or like wearing this or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I could afford that, but like I don't want to spend that versus when I'm in the room with like-minded people that like align with wealth building without being flashy. It just takes so much pressure off of things.
Yeah. It's funny you say that too, because I tell people too, like a lot of times like I don't deliver like a spreadsheet. Like I kind of do like a simple formula, like, okay, here's your profit, boom, 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 like we talked about. It's just like a mindset shift and like a belief shift of like because I think that to your core will change how you want to keep living, not a spreadsheet telling you what to do.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
And you could plug that into ChatGPT and get it. And like you and I, like you could send me the info we're going to cover on our
Right.
call, but it's like to just talk about it at that deeper level is and have that relationship is just so helpful. So I'm just grateful for your support this year and everything. And where can our listeners connect with you if they want to see what you do or maybe DM you a question? Where are you on Instagram?
Yeah. Well, I also want to say thank you for trusting me because, like you said, money is personal and I don't take that lightly at all. So I just
Yeah.
want to say it's always an honor to serve you in this way and just God is good too that we get to be friends from this too.
And y'all, when
Um,
she says money is personal, I probably I probably cry on 50% of our calls, like very unprompted. And it is because whew, it is just such a deep thing. And I know, Carolina, there's some of our listeners out there where some not the case, but some like they're carrying a financial weight of their family. And
yeah,
money can be whew, it can be a heavy topic. And also, if you're like me, I try so hard to understand things, and when I don't have clarity, I just spiral, and
yeah,
I could spend hours toying over. I get very like obsessive,
yeah.
and I think that plays a part in it too. And Carolina what has just been wonderful just about like reframing that, like even if you look at what we accomplished, it's nothing earth shattering, but like from the mindset wise and just understanding and the piece of like actually understanding money and like what to do with it and why you shouldn't just keep like a chunk sitting there that's not doing anything. What can you do with it that's wise, and can you take your foot off the gas and a break when you want? Like you've just been so wonderful. So you've been, when I think of my blessings for 2025, like you're at the top.
Wow. Well,
Having
likewise.
Jack, Carolina.
Well, and then I'm so excited for what this year is going to bring for you because it's just
I'm
like,
pumped.
yeah, it's going to be so good. But yeah, if you want to chat more, have some questions, want to work together, Instagram is probably the best place to reach me. It's Cash Flow with Carolina. And
Share
I
about
don't
your
know.
course.
That's what I was going to ask you. I wanted to give your listeners at least a $50 off my investing course. It's Investing Made Simple for Kingdom Women. So I'm actually a former licensed financial advisor, and I just saw this huge need in people understanding how on earth investing works. And again, back to my one of my core things is keeping it simple, giving you all the information so that you can make the wisest choice and understand how it works without getting screwed over on someone else doing it. So yeah, you can. I'll have Krista share that link down
Yeah,
below
I'll drop the
for
link.
$50 off.
Awesome. Well, Carolina, thank you so much for coming. And y'all give her a follow on Instagram. If this was helpful, slide into her DMs and thank you. Cash Flow with Carolina, all C's. And we'll link that. But Carolina, I just adore you so much. I'm so grateful for you and your expertise and you taking the time to chat with us today.
Likewise, my friend.